Damn you, Linus, you Canadian bastard. Releasing a video in the pretty much middle of the night for me, Eastern Standard Time. I tried to wait up for you. I just couldn't stay up for the WAN show. So I had to get up early and watch it. Yes, of course I know that I didn't have to wake up early to watch these videos. I just wake up early all the time. I like to have a little fun with this. And I got to call Linus a bastard in my intro, so yeah, always fun. Always fun. But I want people to temper their expectations for this video, for the planned video, and for the WAN show. It is not going to be as juicy as you think it's going to be, simply because the adults have to do what they're supposed to do. And the most recent upload from LTT is their plan moving forward with their content. And that's what it is. It's explaining a plan. It's explaining the steps they take to make corrections from no correction, nothing to do at all, to a complete removal of the video. They have created a rubric for that. I'm going to leave the link below. I'm not the biggest fan of rubrics as a former teacher. As much as you think that they're specific, there's always like wiggle room and interpretation. It's not always objective. And I did find some things interesting that, you know, they can have the video replaced. I feel like a lot of content creators don't know about that option, or maybe even have that option. I know Steve from Gamer's Nexus brought it up, like how can he magically, you know, make changes after the fact. So I don't know. I have to explore YouTube a little bit more. I don't know if I have that, and that would probably be beneficial because I say things off the cuff all the time. Go figure. Then it's also a little bit more, you know, trying to be understanding about how mistakes are made, and they have up their workflow processes. And it does look like in the workflow that there are going to be multiple checks by the lab teams, and hopefully a labs person on set, especially if there is no actual script, such as for the short circuit. I did actually pause these things, and workflows are quite boring to read. I'm sure that's going to be kind of a problematic thing moving forward if people are not following the workflow, especially if it gets runs down. And looking at the workflow, they do need a reduction of production of videos for more quality. It is quite a long process from idea to video. It really is. And Linus stated that if there's any issues that are brought up, it stops the video cold and they have to go back, which again, this is a process. As he said, it's a journey, not a destination. Hopefully they stick to that. This really wasn't a video that you can really lambaste them for. There was no comedy. There was no sponsor spots, which was always good. So moving on. They also have how they're going to present data, and they gave a entry, you know, test graph, which I find interesting. I kind of wonder how easily digestible it's going to be. Graphs just on videos they're not really that great of, you know, for just analytical purposes. Like you have to like pause it and really look at it yourself to determine. Whereas typically in a video it's kind of quick. As someone who's made a lot of presentations, graphs are typically the things that get overlooked, even though that's where the important data is. That should be something they should overlook. And when making changes to the graphs and the data, I did see this comment online, like, are they going to say how are they going to make people aware that the data has changed or that a mistake has happened? Because typically most people will watch the video and won't immediately go back to the video. So what is kind of the siren for, like, oh hey, we made this mistake, this got past us, even though we have all these checks in place? You know, how are we going to inform the public that there has been a change? So that was a very valid criticism that I saw on the forum earlier today. Next, moving on to workplace culture. And they've always shown that like they do all these crazy parties and have a little bit of fun. They've kind of hinted at a few things like Channel Super Fun didn't really work for the company, not just because it didn't bring in a lot of views, but because they would have prizes and there was kind of a little backlash in the company, like, well, who gets chosen for that? And typically, like, their most popular presenters, like you get your Sarah Butt, you get your Emily Youngs, you get your Rileys. Yeah, so they have shown they've done fun things, and it seems like, I don't know, can't really speak. It's hard to tell because with current employees not being able to speak, and then former employees, the only ones that seem to be speaking right now are ones that might have left on unfavorable terms, to say the least. So that's a tough thing to say. I don't work there. Don't spend. I've never been to Canada, so boo. We stole Ryan Rhodes for you. Suck it. So yeah, that was kind of interesting and they showed the benefits, which are a lot better than most benefits in the United States. They're really just trying to like pump up, what it's like to work there, because the negative, perception of their work culture has been ongoing longer than when Madison spoke about her experiences and the allegations she's put forth. Hey, I hope that this part of it comes to light. And then moving on to their HR policy, that they have a HR team, and that it's independent from basically Yvonne and Linus. Yes, it's now in-house, but they had a firm beforehand, and that they haven't been in charge of HR for years. But it is this kind of thing that HR typically is there to protect the company rather than the person. That is kind of the sentiment across the board, at least in the United States. I know that in the United States, like, HR is there to protect the company. So it seems like they have a process, and it's a weird process because the first step is to have it resolved with the people in conflict, and that's really tough to do, especially if there's a power dynamic in there. I don't know if that's kind of the best option. And yes, the sun is coming out. Thank you, sun. I love being blinded by you. These shades are really working. Awesome. So I'm not sure, back on topic, if that's the best HR route. I think that should be a change there. Simply, I know it's better to have it resolved by other people. I'm sorry, I'm just focused on my shadows here. Keep on topic. That might be difficult for people. It's, as someone who's had to give a lot of feedback and deal with conflict resolution, first off, it's tough for people to say give feedback, especially constructive criticism, to put it at the most minimal. And then a lot of people don't know how to receive that. A lot of people don't know how to receive that, and these two things kind of escalate situations that make them worse. It's always good to have a third party involved, even when it's not supposed to be completely formalized and written down for legal reasons. My 2 cents on that. Then they talk about employee retention rate, which overall was just above 7%, and they gave the statistics for the Canadian. I'm just leaving all these in here. I don't feel like adding it on a Saturday morning. The Canadian retention rate, and pretty good, but there will be concerns based upon the information they showed. They have a breakdown of it overall for Canada. It was between 18 and 20% off the top of my head, and theirs was about 7%. But if you look further down on the sheet, you see it broken down by industries, and creative design was about like 3.2, I believe, 3.2%. I know I've watched the video multiple times as he's looking over me, staring me down. Keep being protected, Marvel Comics and Pokemon. So I'm not sure how that data is collected, and I'm also not sure how the data was truly collected for overall mood of the company, which was basically out of 5, and it was all over 4s on it, which is actually, if you think about it, that's a B. If it isn't above 4.5, it's not in the A range. That's like in the 80th percentile. So it ranged from like 80% to 98% for various situations. You gotta wonder, because this was done before all this happened, how many people were, concerned about this, that maybe that this situation has brought up various other things that they didn't think wrong at the time, but have to reflect back like, oh, that's not great. So who knows? And quite frankly, they might want to do kind of employee exits if it's possible. I know many companies do that, especially if it's voluntarily left. It might give them a better idea of what's going on in their company, because these are people who, for the most part, have a job there. It's beneficial for them to, keep the workplace in a good situation. And, a lot of people have worked there for a long time. They clearly like it. So that's my thoughts on that. What I did find weird was the showing of the parking lot. That was just strange. I know what point he's trying to make about, like, they don't have like exceptionally long work days, and they do overtime sometimes, but it's not like as crazy as many people would seem. But that was just weird. It was weird. Just strange. So yeah. So, I mean, I think I've covered it. I think I forgot. Yeah, I think I've covered all of it. I mean, I'll always comment back in the comments. So tell me what you think. Do you think this was a good plan? Do you think it's an effective plan? Bring up what I left out. I'm kind of just, it's Saturday morning. Didn't want to do a full script. Didn't want to seem, as mechanical as I've seen in kind of my news stories. I have a former student who's a local reporter, and I always wonder, like, where's her personality? And I'm starting to wonder that about in my news segments, because I've actually fully written it out. But hey, tell me what you think in the comments. Thumbs up if you like this video. Thumbs down if you dislike the video. Keep it at least civil. There's been a lot of definitely hate speech in a bunch of comments for these videos. It kind of brought out everyone previously who had a bone to pick, and quite frankly just hates Linus Media Group. And so no one deserves harassment. They really don't. So yeah, the subscribe button. Trying to reach 1,000 by the end of the year. I'm doing pretty good this past week. And check out my previous videos. They're just news stories for the most part. I haven't gotten back into making, the overall content. And I thought I was going to be doing that today, but Linus, you Canadian bastard, you put up a video pretty much in the middle of the night for me. Thanks. Otherwise, you made it to the end. You're an amazing person. We love you. Bye.